Sweetopie relies on fan support from people like you. If you enjoy my stories and have the generosity to do so, please consider supporting me monthly on Patreon. Alternatively, you can tip me on coffee for a single tip of $3. You would really help me and the channel out, since we all know bills need to be paid. Thank you for your consideration. Also, please remember to like the video, comment something down below, and share the video around, as that improves my standing in the YouTube algorithm. And now, please, enjoy the show. It was 7 AM when Amir, the owner of the Fazbear Entertainment Megaplex, entered the employee lobby. Took a quick look around as every human worker he had looked at him. Brian, the day shift guard, Kevin, the on-duty engineer, Dimitri, the replacement guard, he also went by Terminator, you, the night shift guard, the janitor, and finally his adoptive daughter Charlotte, who worked the register. The reason everyone was meeting here now was a rather silly reason, especially since it had been your day off. With a sad tone in his voice, Amir began breaking down the recent profits. They went down a little. Not by much. After all, it was late spring, the first quarter of the year. The Pizzaplex never had that many customers, as most people still followed through with their New Year's commitment of not eating too much fast food, which they would drop later on in summer. However, every year Amir made a roll call like this just to complain about it. Everyone was used to it by now, and everyone was bored by it, including Charlotte. However, there was a very important point Amir was not allowed to reach, and that was talking about layoffs. The Pizzaplex needed all of its human employees to function and be properly maintained. And if its greedy owner were to fire even one of them, all the workload would become very difficult to handle. Last time this conversation had happened, Brian had suggested creating a new event called Beach Bounce. That actually worked quite well, and brought in a lot of new customers, and even regulars. However, you had no idea yourself, so all you could do was look at your co-workers. Your eyes, however, landed on Kevin, who had a gentle grin on his face. Your hope lied now in the fat engineer. And just when Amir said, "Maybe we have to drop some picnic," shouted the engineer, interrupting Amir. Excuse me?" retorted the manager. "Picnic. We gather all employees, maybe one or two robots, drive down to the countryside and have a picnic." Everyone now looked at Kevin in confusion. "We all know the robots are very advanced. Hell, I remember reading in the potential upgrades for Roxy and Monty that they have the capability of having pleasure modules installed in them, until the idea was dropped by the higher-ups at Fazbear." The engineer shrugged. Whoever suggested that upgrade hopefully got fired. You glanced over to Brian, who was grinning from ear to ear. You remember that incident. He was high and had thrown it into the suggestion box as a joke. And for some reason people seriously considered it. Because of that, I suggest we all have a picnic in the countryside, so we can all calm down. Trust me, Amir, old friend. It will enhance productivity when everyone gets to wind down a little. Your manager scratched his chin. How high would our productivity become after this? Kevin knew exactly that next month, when summer truly began, customers would flood the Pizzaplex as they always did. 10%, maybe more. It most definitely were more. Amir thought for a moment. Honestly, yourself would not mind going out with the others, especially if it wasn't considered time off. I guess you guys want to be paid for that too, growled Amir. The answer to that was a unified yes. Your manager sighed. want those juicy 10%. The sour face on Amir was priceless. Fine. Your manager shrugged. Fine. But you pay for your own food. Everyone now looked at each other. No one had expected less from their boss. 2 weeks later, you were driving in your car behind a Fazbear Entertainment animatronic delivery truck. Inside was the daycare attendant, with a few crates of food. As it turned out, all the animatronics had things planned. Of course, this was in their programmed routine for the day. The robots only deviated from their routine when absolutely necessary. Since the picnic was considered optional, none of them wanted to join. With the exception of the son half of the daycare attendant. With no children in the pizzaplex, this would activate his boredom subroutine, which forced him to look for someone to entertain. Meaning he would essentially lose his mind all alone. This also meant that you as a night guard needed to have at least 2 patrols, starting or ending at the daycare every night, just to accommodate his programming kink. You couldn't wait to see the robot's face when he would see the actual sun for the first time. As you drove, you looked to your left. The scenery had already switched from city outskirts to fields of golden wheat. How far is this place anyways? You spoke loudly. Your phone was on speaker, lying next to you in your passenger seat. Brian and Kevin were inside the truck. You were right behind them in your rusty old car. And in front was Amir in his minivan carrying the others. Amir was the first to reply. I rented a camping space in a nearby forest. It's probably another hour away, plus minus a little. You blushed. I didn't think it would be this far. Is there a gas station nearby? A collective sigh erupted from your phone. You probably just ruined everyone's mood. I have a canister with spare gas in my trunk. I can lend you some. You sighed. Thanks, Amir. A refill, and an hour and a half later, your convoy arrived at the campsite. It was a large, empty space within a thick forest. You could hear the splashing of a nearby river, a mild breeze blowing through the trees, and the shadow given by the leaves created a cool and moist feeling. As the men were setting up, Charlotte vanished somewhere in the thicket, dressed in a bikini to take a dip in the water. You, meanwhile, walked to the truck. However, as you stretched out your hand to open the door, a loud clong made you shriek. It was Brian. With his hand, he had hit the truck to get your attention. Remember what we said? First one to open this thing babysits the bot. You shrugged. Well, maybe I want to babysit him. Brian snorted and made a dismissive hand motion. Your funeral. Don't let the guy dig in the dirt. He may be water resistant, but if dirt gets into his joints, Amir will deduct the repairs from your pay. And then Brian left, giving you an encouraging slap on the back. Slowly you opened the door. Inside the truck were a few light fixtures, a crate with supplies, and a charging station. The light fixtures prevented sun from turning into moon. Sunny? You asked into the truck, after you didn't see the animatronic immediately. And from somewhere you heard a metallic giggling. You smiled. I think we forgot him. You jokingly stepped away from the truck, only to hear a robotic screech. No, you didn't forget me! The sun-faced animatronic jumped up from behind the supply crate. And he quickly ran over to you, waving his arms. I was trying to scare you, but that did not give you the right to scare me back! You were giggling, I knew you were in there. The robot placed both of his hands on your shoulders. I was giggling because it was funny thinking about your reaction. You blinked and smiled. Well, are you ready to see the outside? He let go of you and jumped from one foot to the other. Of course! I've been looking forward to this for a while! He then ran past you and out of the truck, staring up at the leaves of the trees. As you caught up with him, he shouted, Is that a graphics bug? What? You stepped closer to the bot. Are you talking about the sun? No, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about the glitched rays of light. They're so bright. Oh boy. Sun? Where do you think you are? Brian told me we are going to visit the virtual world of the outside. Your right eye twitched in anger, and with a scowl you looked over at the guys who were still setting up the grill and the gardening tent. Eyes falling onto the day guard who was grinning at you. No. Actually, no. This is real life. You are actually outside of the pizzaplex, in nature itself. The robot dropped his arms in disbelief. So, that bug up there? That's me, isn't it? That's me up there, making the light! I told you it's the sun. Immediately the robot jumped up excitedly, wrapping his long arms around you, pressing the air out of your lungs in the process. Please tell me I'm brightening up your day! Is that a pun? You coughed. He let go of you and thought. Pun. Pun. Pun detected. Oh, Night Guard! I'm so sorry. You looked at him helplessly. But then an idea came to you. You're water resistant, right? Proudly the robot slapped his chest. I need to be. My little friends like to vomit a lot. And that would break me otherwise. Without warning, you took his hand. Well, then let's take a bath. Oh boy, a bath! You dragged the robot to the river, making sure to be at least 100 meters away from Charlie to not bother her. You sat down on a nearby rock as Sun squatted down next to the quietly splashing river. He was analyzing the water's clarity, considering whether or not it was clean enough to get into. Then he stretched out his right foot and gently dipped the tip of his toe into the liquid. Since it was summer, the water was pleasantly warm. Then he took a full step inside. Disappointment soon followed. I'm too tall, he said as he looked over to you. Huh? You did choose a shallow part of the river. But then the robot got a devious idea. Oh, Night Guard, he said with evil intent. Huh? You looked up from your phone. I'm stuck! You blinked. Wait, what? Help me, Night Guard! I'm stuck! Concerned, you got off the rock and slowly approached him. Did mud get into his leg joints? As you came closer, though, you never expected what he did next. He grabbed you, and then threw himself with you in his arms into the water. You shrieked as a loud splash echoed around you, and for a moment your head was underwater. You struggled against the machine, who was laughing loudly. Clearly he was enjoying this. And your body screamed for air as your wild thrashing became more desperate. And then finally, he let go and stopped wrestling with you. You gasped for air and looked up at the blue sky. Your body was completely drenched. Meanwhile, Sun giggled hysterically. Safe to say, you were pissed. Charlotte, having noticed the struggle, had come over. Seeing your sour face with the animatronic still holding onto you, made her laugh out loud. Yeah, you growled. Let it out, Charlie. You grumbled as you watched the animatronic stand up, his faceplate turning to the left as he stretched out his hand for you. Remaining like this for a full minute. Finally, you took it.
That was fun!
He shouted. You didn't respond. Quietly, you and the robot left for the campsite, leaving Charlie behind.
Night guard?
You wondered if the robot truly didn't understand that he almost drowned you, or if he was simply trying to cheer you up. But as far as you were concerned, your day was over. Dripping wet, you re-entered the campsite. Thankfully, the guys by now had set up everything, and were busy drinking and laughing and sharing whatever the hell Brian had brought with him to notice you. Dejected, you walked up to a bench you had seen earlier that stood next to the truck and lied down on it. The sun was shining on it. At least you would get dry. Sun sat down next to you.
You're scaring me, Night Guard. You haven't said anything for a while.
You closed your eyes, slowly inhaled and exhaled.
Night Guard, are you having nap time?
Sun looked up at the sky.
But it isn't past your bedtime yet.
Finally, he understood that you weren't in the mood. And in a quiet moment of you being upset, you didn't realize that the robot left you. It was only 10 minutes later when you realized he wasn't quietly sulking next to you. Sitting up, you rubbed your eyes and looked around. You couldn't see the others as the truck was in the way, making you feel weirdly alone despite hearing the noises of the laughing man.
Son?
You asked loud.
Son?
You shouted.
Where did you go?
Shit. If you lost the animatronic, you would definitely lose your job. And go into debt to pay for the damages. Crap. You jumped up and then sighed. Your back was still damp. You should have rolled on your back after drying. But then you slapped your cheek to snap out of it. You needed to focus. Where was the robot? You rubbed your eyes and then looked around for real. There were footsteps in the dirt. Good. Taking it literally one step at a time, you followed the tracks, hoping it were the robots. In your mind, images of the machine, broken after falling down a hill, ghosted around your mind. Ironically, however, as your worry reached heights you never thought possible, your own foot got caught by a tree root, and you fell forward. As you lied there, in the dirt, you started sobbing quietly.
Night Guard?
You sniffled but didn't react.
Are you alright?
Are you still alive?
No, not alright.
You grumbled.
I lost Son. I've been looking for him I can't find him. Oh God, I'm gonna lose my job. I'm going to pay for the replacements. I'm gonna get banned for sure. I don't wanna. And what about Son?
Oh God, Son, he must be so scared and alone. I'm sorry. The person next to you gently rubbed over your back.
No, I should be sorry. I should not have pulled you in the water with me.
Wait. Son? How the hell did you not notice his voice? You looked up and the robot waved at you, then stretched out his hand.
Hey there, Night Guard.
Blinking, you accepted his offer. Strange. His hand felt really hot. Allowing him to lift you up, you were covered in dirt and really not in the mood for anything anymore. Despite the relief you felt.
Can I show you something, Night Guard?
For a moment you thought about the pleasure modules for the animatronics Brian had put in the suggestion box. You shook your head to get the dirty thoughts out of your brain.
Yeah, sure.
Then Sun guided you through a wall of light at the rim of the forest, leading you into a beautiful field of poppies.
I've been spending my time here, soaking in my rays.
So that's why you felt so hot.
And how did you do that?
He looked at you, his face turning upside down. You really hoped he didn't just lie down in the poppy field, destroying flowers, or worse, dirtying his drawings. But without saying anything, he took 3 steps into the field and then stretched out both of his arms while his legs were pressed together, creating a T-shape. Quite a dominating pose, you had to admit. You smirked.
Well, glad you're still functional.
Why wouldn't I? He asked curiously.
I mean, it's your first time out. You're a delicate machine. I'm tasked with taking care of you.
He jumped forward and wrapped his arms tightly around you. His sun-heated body made you shiver uncomfortably, but soon it became rather pleasant, and you blushed.
You have been doing such a great job, Night Guard! And taking care of me.
You really didn't, but you were glad he thought you were. Your phone suddenly beeped, interrupting the surprisingly tender moment. Thankfully, Sun didn't hear it. As he continued hugging you, you slowly reached for your pockets and unlocked it behind his back. How it survived your attempt at drowning was a mystery to you, but you were glad it was still alive. You raised your eyebrows. It was a text from Brian. We brought out the karaoke box. Amir and Kev are finally drunk enough for it. You wanna come watch? You suppressed a grumpy growl and just put your phone back. No, actually. You'd rather spend some more time alone with the literally hot animatronic. Hey, you whispered. Why don't we praise the sun some more? The others, they can wait for us.